You're listening to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast, where we discuss whatever the fuck we want to. And yes, we can put sex and drugs and Jesus all in the same bed and still be all right at the end of the day. My name is Devanin, and I'll be interviewing guests from every corner of this world as we dig into topics that are too risque for the morning show, as we strive to help you understand what's really going on in your life. There is nothing off the table, and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right into this episode. Hello, everyone, and happy Friendsgiving. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. Today, I'm super excited to be talking to Heather Hutchison, who's a best-selling author, and also she has cut 3 albums, and she's also legally blind. She is the first legally blind person I've ever had on my show, and I'm excited to talk about how she lives her life to the fullest and is not letting anything hold her back. In this episode, we talk about what it's like living with blindness and mental health struggles. We talk about some misconceptions about blind people, what it's like to be inside of psych wards, and we get into the healing found in music, and we talk a lot about why it might be a good idea for people to get over this addiction to family that a lot of people seem to have. So I hope you enjoy the episode, and I hope you enjoy the time with your true family on today. Heather, thank you so very much for stepping onto the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast today. It is such a blessing and such a wonder to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course, my dear sweets, of course. So we are going to be talking a lot today about your beautiful book that you wrote. It's a memoir. It's called Holding On by Letting Go. When I hear that title, it reminds me of how in the Star Wars series, Yoda was telling Anakin's ignorant, stupid fucking ass he said, you must learn to let go of that which you fear to lose. And,
Oh, yeah.
and he was, because he was heart aching over Padme and everything like that.
Yes.
Fucked up the whole galaxy for 20 years and shit.
Yeah, that's right.
He didn't know how to
I never thought about that before. Now every time I think of that title, I'm going to think Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Totally Yodes right there. And I know usually I would start my show and, get my guests to give us a little blurb about who they are and background and stuff like that. But this time I'm going to do it differently because I really, really love the way the prologue for your book was written. And so I'm going to read your prologue because I've just never heard a book be so, it's a short prologue, but I felt like the content was very edgy and fresh. And I just really think it sums up a lot of the matter. So I'm going to read your background for you through this prologue.
Awesome.
I'm going to take a moment. So her book opens like this, y'all. It says, I don't know when I first realized my life was optional, something I could hold in my own 2 hands and take away when I saw fit. As I lie awake in a darkened hospital room, I scan back through the years, searching for answers and reasons I may never fully understand. Maybe it was exposure to mental illness and suicide at an early age. Maybe it was when the problems at home started, or an inability, both learned and innate, to cope with stressful situations. Maybe it was because the school bullies told me I should kill myself. Or perhaps it was growing up faced with frequent discrimination caused by being born blind. Realistically, it was probably a perfect storm of circumstances that came together with disastrous timing to lead me to this hospital bed. And so I'm going to give you the Nancy Pelosi clap on that one. And with that, I will hush and let you tell us anything you would like to personally about yourself.
Yeah, so as you said, the prologue kind of does sum it up. So I'm also a singer-songwriter. I have 3 albums out so far, and I just released this new memoir.
I think memoirs are fucking awesome. I have mine coming out whenever we finally get it done. No, those bitches take a long time to write.
Right?
It,
And the writing's like the first draft's the easy part, and then you got to go back through and
it's
yeah.
it's been it'll be about a 2-year process before it's all said and done with mine. A,
Oh
f-
yeah.
a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Teresa Hissong, an author, and she's written countless books. She told me when the process started, she was like, "D is much easier to write fiction than a memoir." She was like, "It's gonna
Mhm.
take a while," and she was telling the whole truth. So I commend you on getting yours done and out there for the world to see. Now you have a lot of unique things. You are a woman who is living with, disabilities, as well as mental health struggles. So I appreciate your candidness, your willingness to tell the truth. But, so many people want to act like they got it together. They want to act like they
Mhm.
don't have problems. They want to kind of skirt the issue. Or if they do say they're struggling with something, they're very timid about it. They don't really get into the gory details.
Yes.
But, the healing comes when we're transparent. Just by somebody hearing that somebody is going through the same thing that they're going through can encourage somebody to take another step rather than stopping and giving up right where they're at.
Mhm. I totally agree.
So whether even without giving advice, just by saying, yes, I have this same problem that you do is enough for somebody to catch a second wind.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and
yeah, go ahead.
no, it's so true, like and I think that's why I wanted to write this book because I feel like there's not a lot of info out there really, like, people, they more wanna talk about their recovery, which is great, that should be the end goal, but I remember, like, when I was going through it, I would read, these posts from influencers or whatever talking about how they had a really tough time, but they're better now, and it's like, well, what did that journey even look like? Nobody really wants to talk about the journey.
Hmm. How did we get there? And so I want to talk about a story, the opening story in your book, which I found to be incredibly captivating, and it's pivotal and it represents so much of us. A theme from this story was about how people around us teach us to judge. And you were talking about how you were, I believe, on a family vacation. You really hadn't not at this point looked at yourself like somebody who had a problem. You met a kid on a playground. You were just the best of friends. You're running around and everything. And and then he and then he asked you, maybe like why you weren't looking at something, and then it
Mhm.
kind of goes from there. Do you want to tell us this story and your experience there?
Yeah, so like you said before then, I never really considered that society viewed me as different because you're kind of self-absorbed as a kid and you're in your own little world and I would hang out with my brother and cousins and everything and just do whatever they did. Nobody really said I couldn't. So then this family vacation, I was on the playground, like you said, with this kid who asked me why I never looked at anything, and I told him super matter-of-factly, "I'm blind," like, because it never really crossed my mind at that point that it was anything more than like, "Oh, I have brown hair and blue eyes." And his reaction was so immediate and so stunning, so he actually turned around. I was standing at the top of the slide, he turned around and he pushed me backwards, so I fell. And he yelled something over his shoulder about me being blind and then got on his bike and left. And we had been hanging out like great friends before that, so it was just this like sudden shift. And I remember laying there kind of going, wow, like I am different and this is forever. It will never go away.
Well, fuck him.
Yeah, if he's out there right now, fuck him.
You know who you are, and you know what you did.
He probably doesn't remember. He was probably an asshole to everyone. But he got it from somewhere.
Right. So you know, and there's something in us that can really recoil at things that are different, people that are different we don't understand.
Mhm.
But when that happens, we have a choice, when we don't have to cater to every emotion that rises up in us. So in that moment, whatever made him uncomfortable about you, he could have, and anybody can do this. He could have said, okay, wow, this makes me feel uncomfortable. Gee, I wonder why, and then he could have maybe asked you, what is that experience like? What can I
Hmm.
do to help you today? Is there anything you need? As
Yes.
opposed to pushing you, screaming insults and running away.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, he sounds like a Republican.
Sort of. Yeah, that's a good point. It'd be interesting to know his political views at
Mhm.
this point.
Yeah, you probably hanging out with someone who's a Republican senator now. But that's what happens, like in the gay community and stuff too. People are different,
Hmm.
so then we get rejected, not because we've done anything, but just because people have an emotion that arises within them and they don't know what to do with it or how to process it. So then it comes out as, well, then we just want to get away from you.
Yes, absolutely.
And so there's not much we can do about people like that. And I feel like that your audience is similar to mine. It's like, who out there can we help who has been hurt, as opposed to going after like the asshole kid or the asshole Republican. We can't really touch them too much.
Yeah, you're not going to change their mind. If they don't want to learn, they don't want to learn.
But I think it's beautiful to be different though, Heather. What the fuck is normal any damn way?
It's true.
So, but explain to me, like, so in case somebody out there is wondering, okay, so if you're blind, how are you able to run around and do stuff all day with him on the playground anyway if you can't see? So is it like a partial blindness? Like, explain to me how you're able to.
Yeah, so it is partial. A lot of people don't realize that blindness is kind of on a spectrum. They think
Hmm.
all or nothing.
Uh-huh.
But so I can see better in low light, like in at dusk kind of, and I can see sharp, like stark contrast between light and dark, things like that. I might be able to see that a person's standing there, but I would never be able to recognize them. But I think when you're a kid, you're so, resilient that it doesn't even really matter if you can't see anything. You just kind of run and fall, and
Yeah.
whatever happens, happens. So you don't really think about it a ton, I think, when you're really little.
Right. And I'm glad you explained that because, blindness is on a spectrum. You know, I think about, is it Lady Gaga's grandmother? I think it was. I may have read a story like she has a sort of blindness like that, and so a lot of the scantily clad outfit Lady Gaga has, I think caters, from the story that I read or heard, somehow like her grandmother can see like the heat signatures and maybe like that the skin,
Oh, crazy.
and so by her wearing less, her grandmother can actually see her more.
I don't know how some people's grandmothers would feel about that, but I guess it's a good excuse to not wear much clothes.
Dude, grandmothers would totally understand. It's funny. The grandparents, at least, from my experience, are the ones that are more open-minded than the actual parents are.
Yeah, yeah, they can be. That's true.
Because it was my grandmother when I was young, I would put on I'm talking about like 3, 4, 5 years old. I would put on my mother's heels, her little pumps, little 2-inch ones, whenever my parents were gone. And I would put on like an oversized shirt, which is pretty much what I wore. And I put on one of her belts and tie it
Hmm.
around my stomach and make me a dress.
Yeah.
And I put on her shoes and I would run around the little shack we lived in. You can't even call that a house. And I would just like be a girl in my
Yeah,
mother's shoes. And my grandmother would keep a lookout at the door in case my parents were coming back and give me the signal.
that's awesome. I think grandparents, they're like, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, they live long enough. They're over this shit. It's like
Yeah,
whatever.
it's true.
Okay, so then let's talk about like, so you mentioned being admitted for psychiatric treatment. What exactly are your mental health diagnoses?
So I struggle with major depression, anxiety, and OCD.
Okay, wow. Okay, major depression, anxiety. Yeah, I've had all three of those too. So much to work with there. How do you, well, tell me, what was it like for you being in the mental hospital and what led you there?
Well, it's hard to put into words,
Okay.
really, as I'm sure people can relate to who have been there. And everybody always asks you, is it like in the movies? And I mean, yes and no. There is a lot of drama that goes on, but it's not like constant. There are moments of calm, but I mean, your freedom is taken away. You don't get to make any decisions really for yourself. You have somebody always watching you, especially for the first few days if you come in on suicide watch. And so I ended up there because in November of 2000, it's kind of a long story, but in November of 2018, I entered into a major depressive episode that just went on and on and on for months. It didn't end. My hair was falling out. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. And I arranged an emergency meeting with my doctor in June because it just was getting to the point of no return. And I was actually able to stay out of the hospital at that time. They just played with my medications, got me more outpatient mental health supports. But then when the pandemic hit, it was like, nobody was seeing people in
Mm,
person anymore. My doctors and therapists weren't even seeing people on video call. It was just like regular phone calls. So they never really saw how I was deteriorating and they never, it was harder to reach them. So there was a lot less support. And I think I just wasn't far enough into recovery that I could manage that on my own. So I started to think with the uncertainty of everything and my need to control everything that I couldn't, that the one thing that was left that I could control was how and when I would die. But before I did that, I decided that, as a promise to, unspoken promise to my loved ones, I was going to go to the hospital. And if I wasn't admitted or if I didn't feel better when I got out, I would kill myself. And I didn't really expect or want to get better even. It was more going for absolution, I guess, so that when I was gone, my family and friends would kind of think, well, she tried. But so I figured if I did get held at all, I didn't think I would, but I figured if I did, it would be, at the most the 24 or 48-hour psych holds you usually hear about.
mhm.
But no, it didn't quite work out that way.
How long were you in for?
9 days.
Yeah, that can be a lifetime because you've never been to jail or anything like that before, have you?
No, no. So 9 days, yeah, it feels like a long time.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, so y'all, what she's saying can't be, it can't be overstated when your freedoms are taken from you. I think I was in the mental hospital for 12 or 14 days. And it's just imagine you're not able to come and go as you please. If you want to go get a Sprite or a glass of wine, the answer is no. You
You're
can't walk
turning
down the
into Ryan
street,
in the psych ward.
right? Like and then, you're around people who are far more crazy than you are,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times. And so, so you're like, damn, I know I got some problems, but that motherfucker over there is really fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they're a lifer. They're not getting out of here. I
I,
hope.
I remember they had it was this big, huge plastic, like Mario Brothers, Legoland furniture bolted to the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, Nothing's
Yes.
movable.
No.
This one guy, there were the tiles had like colored little checkers in it, and he was trying to move the colored checkers. Like, I think he was seeing in 3D.
Oh
Everything was
wow.
really in like 1D. And just standing on the couch talking to people who weren't there. You had the guy, of course, shitting on the floor. I think you have those in
Mm-hmm.
like every psych ward.
I think so. Yeah, and then sometimes they play with it. Anyways, I might have just taken that too far.
You can never go too far. When when I was in jail one time, this one girl was telling us that she was definitely a mental case. I think someone had come to see her or something, and then she decided to shit into a water bottle because she didn't like this person, and throw it either on him or in his direction. And then she coined the term the itty bitty shitty committee.
Oh, gee. Why is it always shit? I don't get it.
Hey, it's organic.
I guess, yeah. It's all you got, I suppose. When they
Right.
take everything else away.
No sharp pencils, no nothing.
Yeah,
So no pointy
exactly.
objects,
No, no cell phone chargers, no
no
shoes,
shoelaces,
no.
nothing like that. So we mentioned that like blindness being on a wait, first of all, I'm very glad that you're still alive and that you're still with us. I'm glad that your absolution plan was interrupted that way. And also I'm even more to the point glad that you understand that, your deliverances and your struggles are not something that are to be kept secret. I'm glad you
Mhm.
get that you made it out so you can help others make it out.
Yeah, totally. And that's part of the reason I made it out, I think.
Hmm. I think so too with me as well, my sister. So what are some of the other common misconceptions about blindness? You've explained to us that it's actually on a gradient, like on a scale, on a spectrum, you said. Is
Mhm.
there anything else that are some misconceptions about blindness?
There are a ton. But we have super crazy senses. I think, like, when the movie Daredevil came out, that kinda ruined my life because everyone's like, "Oh, do you see better in the rain?" Or whatever, I can't even remember. I don't actually even think I saw the movie, but I think it was something like that. So, senses, no, we don't have these, like, crazy superhuman senses. They're not really any better than yours, they're just way more developed. We learn to use them more effectively, but they're not, like, superhuman. I wish, because 'cause that'd be cool.
So you can't hear a pin drop in the water like a mile away.
No, probably not. I can smell a Starbucks from a few blocks away, though.
Okay, so like all the senses are heightened relative to somebody who would have them all, but in different blind people. So like somebody might have stronger smelling, you might have stronger hearing, somebody else might have stronger, touch. So even amongst blind people, there's, one might develop even more, with
Yeah,
somebody else.
yeah, I think so, and it's just practice, that's all it is. We're not, like, born with something different than everybody else has.
Yeah. All right. So with that, any other misconceptions?
Gosh, how do you pick just one? That we
No, you,
don't dream.
no, you can talk about as many as you would like, my dear. You said you don't dream.
Yeah, that's I don't know, a lot of people think that, but yeah, we do, and people always ask, "Do you see in your dreams?" No, but it's kinda weird because in my dreams, I'm, like, never like, I can be in these unfamiliar environments, but they'll be, like, totally familiar to me, like my own house, so I never use, like, a cane or a dog or anything in my dreams, even if I'm in, like, a place I don't know, so that's kinda weird.
So you're saying you do dream.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You
Yeah,
absolutely do dream. The misconception that some people think blind people don't dream.
yeah.
Okay, so I guess some people think since you can't see anything, you wouldn't have anything from which to form a dream. But what you're
Mhm.
saying is that even though you don't see like other people do, or some blind people can't see at all, you dream. You're dreaming in perfect clarity.
Yeah, not so much visually, just
Mhm.
it's so hard to explain. Just, I don't need, there's none of those like barriers. So I don't need, maybe it's just lack of like total inhibition. I don't know. But
Mhm.
there's none of that like, oh my God, I need my cane right now because I'm gonna like fall over some shit or something like that. I just know in my dreams. It's really weird.
All right, cool. So so we talked about getting, checked into the mental hospital and everything, the plan to do the suicide, which didn't happen. Can you tell me though, when you first started having struggles with depression and anxiety, what was going on in your life to bring you down to that point?
Yeah, it started super early for me. I would say by 7, the anxiety was pretty well developed. There were some family struggles. My dad had cancer and then he actually left. And so there were things like that going on as well. I was starting to really realize that people were not all people, but that there were some people that were uncomfortable around me. My classmates were kind of starting to realize it as well at that age, so I would get sick a lot at school and have to be sent home. I would have panic attacks, but I didn't know what they were obviously at the time. And the depression, I think, kind of started in my early teens as a reaction to that anxiety because who wants to feel like that all the time? So you're kind of looking for a way out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough enough growing up, with all the hormonal changes and things like that that are going to naturally happen, and then to have, blindness thrown in on top of that, and then, a parent to abandon you, you know, as well. Do you feel like all of these struggles have made you stronger though?
I think so, yeah, because I mean, I'm pretty grateful for where I am today. And, you kind of think about it like a choose your own ending book and like, wow, if I'd turned that page, what would have happened differently? Where would I have been? And I think that to lead me to this point when, I've gotten to do quite a few things that I wanted to do. I released 3 albums, I wrote this book and things like that. I needed material to write about for those albums and for the book and things like that. So I think all of that was kind of leading to this moment and to get to do those kinds of things.
Oh, absolutely. And the beautiful thing, Heather, about it, now that you have the book written and the music, those things will outlive you. So
Hmm.
it's a great testimony. So people, as long as this earth remains, your voice will be a contributing factor to people's healing and deliverance. And so it's a gift that keeps on giving, you
Yeah,
know.
I hope so.
And so, but when did you first know that you wanted to write a book though? Like when did it hit you? Like, you know what? It's time to put pen to paper for this.
So people were telling me for years, like, oh, you should write a book. And I'm like, what the hell would I write a book about? Like, I didn't really feel like I had anything to say. And then a couple months before I went into the hospital, I was talking to my therapist and I was like, I could write a book about all the stupid shit people do and say because I'm blind. And he kind of looked at me and went, well, maybe you should. And I kind of dismissed it. And then I was in the hospital actually, and I was laying awake one night. I couldn't sleep. And somebody was brought in by air ambulance in critical condition. And so I'm laying there listening to all this stuff going on. There was the code blue called and everything like that. And I'm kind of going, like, those people's, that person's family must be having one of the scariest nights of their lives. And then I thought, well, how come I can feel so much compassion for their loved ones? And like, I know that the choice that I want to make will devastate my own. And, this person in the bed, would they want to trade places with me if they could? Because I have a choice and they're fighting to live right now and I'm fighting to die. And it just kind of was like at this crossroads of like, I knew in that moment that I had to make a decision. I was either going to live or die. And if I was going to live, I had to make this pain mean something. I had to turn that pain into purpose to try and help other people because I think the most painful thing of what I went through, honestly, was thinking about somebody else having to go through that as well. So, if I could reach even one person and, take away a little bit of that pain for them, then, living was worth it. So that's when I started actually trying, working with the doctors and therapists, actually being an active part of my treatment plan and things like that. So I could get well enough to leave the hospital and tell my story in this book.
Do you feel like maybe that individual had whatever happened to them and it was airlifted and all that code blue happened, in part to get your attention?
Kind of, yeah. Like, I don't know. Some people might say, oh, that's crazy or whatever, but I think things do sometimes happen for a reason. I hate when people say that when there's like some awful tragedy and somebody dies or something and oh, everything happens for a reason. But I think some things are, I think some people get put in our paths right when we need them. And I think this person did for me. And fortunately, I was at a moment where I was ready to receive that because I think if somebody else had told me about that or if I had read that in the news or something, it wouldn't have affected me so much as actually being there. So yeah, I do think that fortunately that person was there and I was fortunately in a place that I was ready to receive that lesson or that message.
So what we're talking about here is like having spiritual understanding.
Hmm.
So what we're talking about is like, so one person might look at what happened and say, okay, well, people are going to drop into emergency rooms all the time. You're in a hospital anyway. How could that be a sign to you personally? But for people who have spiritual understanding and who can listen to the signs and who have their hearts open to receive such things, that I can look at this and go, okay, I don't believe that that was accidental, that you were in the hospital that night when somebody in a circumstance with your state of mind came in, put you on a different trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely.
So somebody, with spiritual understanding is going to look at that and go, okay, God made that happen. Or, some spiritual force that if they don't want to believe in God or whatever, then they'll say, this is a spiritual thing. It happened this way for a reason. This was not an accident. Look, she's had 3 albums and a book now. This was a pivotal moment,
Hmm.
for her. And, and therein is a difference. So I encourage people to check this, their level of spiritual understanding and perhaps consider looking at things from different perspectives and finding, connections there and see what's speaking to you when you have unusual things happen to you. So talk to me about what it was like being blind and living in different countries. Because in what all countries have you lived in?
I've lived in Peru and I've spent a lot of time in Mexico. I feel like I've practically lived there because I'll spend 3 weeks here, a month here, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
But I actually lived in Peru for an extended period of time.
So did people treat blind people differently there? Did you have a different experience? Were they nicer? Were they meaner? You kept going back, so I guess it was good.
Yeah, probably wouldn't go back if they were meaner. I'm gonna make some huge generalizations here, and they're only generalizations, but I think like I'm in Canada and I think the US is pretty similar in that people tend to have one of two responses when they meet me. Either they try to completely avoid the topic of me being blind, and it actually gets to the point where it's like uncomfortable because you can tell that they want to ask and they want to know more, but they won't. Or they try to pretend they're totally cool with it by cracking jokes and things like that. And I like a good blind joke as much as the next person, but I've heard them all 1,000 times. People are not actually that original. But in contrast, people in Latin America, they tend to observe far more. So I think in general, they can be more intuitive, I guess, and kind of intuit what I might need and how I might need help or not need help without making like a big awkward deal about it. They're just way more like casual about the whole thing and way more casual about differences. I think in general they kind of are more accepting of adversity and willing to meet people where they're at.
So, so basically, they just have a natural flow about it. So
Yeah.
they just treat you like any other person,
Yeah, exactly.
unless something since situation might warrant some sort of change. But other than that, it is just they're just cool about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's not even something they really think about.
So I wonder what that speaks to the internal nature, because we can't give away what we don't have. So in order for them to be that cool and that chill with you, that lets me know that they're strong and well composed on the inside, you
Mhm.
know. So then fucking Americans and
And Canadians.
you know, Well, I'll let you say that. I haven't been off of a plane in Canada. I've been through there on planes before. So you could say fucking Canadian. Oh my gosh, now I'm getting South Park flashbacks. She was South Park the movie. She hated the Canadians. They had the whole blame Canada.
Yeah.
Seems like everything's gone wrong since Canada came along. Oh my god, so I wonder if that speaks to like the internal state of being with Americans, and Canadians. Yeah, sometimes it seems like some of the richest countries, which America is like the most fucked up character.
Hmm. Yeah,
You
it's
know,
true. I made a lot of Americans, but yeah, it's a little messed up.
oh, honey, this country has a long way to go in terms of actually showing love to a diversity of people.
Hmm. Yeah, and so does Canada.
The love of country is a big, big thing with people, especially Latin Americans.
Yes. Yeah.
The love of country and football.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and food.
oh,
They take food pretty seriously.
I take food pretty seriously.
I do too, but I don't know, like compared to like Mexico or the rest of Latin America, like we got nothing. Like what food do we really have that's like ours? Like hamburgers, grilled cheese, I don't know.
American, yeah, hot dogs,
Yeah,
popcorn, baseball type shit.
yeah, same here.
I don't know. I eat everything out the ocean myself. I love a lot of seafood.
Oh, sushi. Do you like sushi?
Yes, I love everything
Yes.
Japanese. I'm studying Japanese.
Oh, cool.
That's the country I would move to whenever I get ready to abandon this
Awesome.
this place here. And so, what are some of the positives of being blind? I don't think that when people look at blindness, they really think very much good can come out of it. So, what are some of the positives?
I can put makeup on without a mirror.
You hear that, drag queens? No mirror needed.
No, exactly. I think there's lots of things you get. I don't know, like you maybe learn to be not every blind person, but maybe we learn to be a little bit more empathetic. We get to ride the bus for free in most places. What else? We get to skip in lines a lot, which like I don't really know how I feel about that because on one hand, we want to be treated just like everyone else, but on the other hand, we get special accommodations. And I kind of struggle with that one a little, but I guess that could be seen as, one of the positives.
Hey, you got to take what you can get in this life.
It's true. It's true. Like I don't need a Nexus card to cross the border, which is nice because those things are expensive, but I get to go in the Nexus line anyways.
You see, then there could be somebody blind out there who didn't know about those
Yeah,
benefits
yeah,
and stuff like
maybe.
that.
Or someone who's going to go on the internet right now and buy a white cane. No, don't do that.
And so, as common as knowledge is, not it's not really, that doesn't mean necessarily everyone knows it. So little stuff like that, I didn't know. That blind people get to ride the bus for free in most places or about crossing the border. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so, and there could be a parent of a blind person out there trying to figure out, what to do and how to do it. And that information that you gave them might just open some new doors for them.
Yeah,
It-
there certainly are little perks
but
once
those,
you learn about them.
those things can go a long way, especially somebody who's struggling financially.
Yeah.
I've been broke enough before when I was homeless. I couldn't afford the 50 cents or a dollar or 15 or whatever it was to catch the bus.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
gotta,
that's true.
it's a
Oh, there
possibility.
there are definitely people who do fake it.
Oh, you're not necessarily carrying some sort of credential, like I don't know if there a way to prove it or anything.
supposedly there's a card. I have it. Mine's like 5 years expired. Nobody ever asked me for it. They see the cane and they're like, "Oh no, you're good."
And so you mentioned a white cane. Is that a
Uh-huh.
color specific for people who are blind? Or
Yeah, it's kind of the most recognized symbol, I guess. The white cane means blind person. You can, I think, get different colors now, but it's just like super recognizable. Somebody sees a white cane and they're like, "Oh yeah, that person's blind."
okay, that's another thing I didn't know, but I suppose I could, maybe could have figured it out in the situation, you know,
Yeah.
because when I hear white cane, I'm thinking like, a pimp walking in the club, you know, with like a white fur coat and a white
Oh,
fit,
really?
everything.
Very different
My mind was
interpretation.
day
But yeah, I can see that.
perspective is everything.
Totally.
So how has your music helped you with your, desire, depression and anxiety and everything like that over the years? Talk about how your music has been therapy for you and what techniques have worked for you the best to help you manage your mental health issues.
So, I mean, I kind of grew up singing. I would take like this old heavy tape recorder around with me everywhere when I was like 5 and just like make up songs all the time. And it was always kind of helpful to like exist in my own little world, I guess, when things got to be too much and kind of live in that fantasy world of writing songs and stories and things like that. And then as I got older into my teen years and I felt more isolated, I started writing, I guess, more serious songs. And it's very therapeutic, very comforting to sit down at the piano and really talk through, I guess, what I was feeling. And then when I was 15, I entered a talent competition, and one of the judges for the finals actually came up to me backstage and was like, "Hey, I'm a producer. We should do some recording together." And I didn't actually think it would ever happen, but 3 weeks later, we were in the studio recording, and the studio, like that first day in the studio, was like, my God, I finally found my place in this world. And so it was a huge comfort to me as I was going through those tough years to get to be in the studio and be with I think musicians are another group for whatever reason that are just like super cool with people who are different. So none of them really ever questioned me. I was just this girl who played music and loved music. It wasn't, the blind girl who plays music. I was just a person. So that was really comforting, and I don't know what I would have done, honestly, without music and without kind of that intervention of that producer, because I was still really struggling, and that gave me purpose and something to live for and to fight for. So if I didn't have that, I don't know honestly what would have happened.
Well, I'm glad you found your family, it sounds like, amongst the musical crowd.
Yeah, yeah, they really are.
And you see, something that I talk about often is how sometimes our natural blood family and the people who we are raised around, they don't always pan out to actually be the best family for us. Sometimes blood is not really as thick as water.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's very true, and it's cool with friends that you actually kinda get to choose your family when you're super close with somebody, and you can totally feel like they're family even if they aren't related.
I mean, related family, I really want people to get out of this dependence on
Yeah.
re-
Yes.
related family because of how destructive family can be. You sit there and you see people go through the greatest stress. They end up with strokes in hospitals because they're worrying about something a blood family member said to them, is doing to them, won't accept them. People in the
Mhm.
LGBTQIA plus community, we go and kill ourselves because of, our family has rejected us.
Mhm.
Our blood family has rejected us with people. When one door closes, that just means you have an opportunity to go through another one. so we can go and pick other family. In the Hebrew Bible says it like this, that there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother, and better a friend near than a brother far. So, no matter how you believe, whether you believe in God or not, surely you can see the wisdom in what those texts are saying.
Yeah,
Saying,
totally.
reach out to who you can,
Hmm.
for family, instead of trying to force your blood people to act ways that they don't want to act.
Yeah, I think that's so true because there are so many people you see who put up with such shit from their family members because they're family, and you wouldn't put up with that from anybody else on the planet, but it's okay because they're family. Well, no, it's not.
And they'll even say those words. They'll be like, we'll go through this, and you know what? We'll put up with it. Why? Because we're family.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking that's exactly why you shouldn't, because that means they're taking. It sounds all great and rosy and sweet.
Hmm.
And, oh, it's family, and it's such a nice, warm platitude and everything. But nobody should treat you bad and disrespect you. I don't give a fuck who they are.
Yeah. What does family really mean? Like, why? I don't know. I've never understood that.
Mom, dad, sister, brother, family are the people who accept you unconditionally and show you love no matter what.
Yes.
Family, like when I got arrested, it was not my family who came and bonded me out. It was my bartender.
Oh,
You know,
really?
I was a drug dealer as well. So we had a symbiotic relationship. But the point is, the blood family was not there first,
Hmm.
and so, or the second time I got arrested, I don't know, fuck what was going on. I was so fucking high. And so, but gosh, I've seen it. A friend of mine that got, she was getting married. She's come from a strong Catholic, or, the Catholic cult, as I call them, background. He's not Catholic. I don't think he really believes in anything. It was a whole thing. The family was like, I can't believe you're marrying someone who's not Catholic and blah, 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 blah. Not, he treats you well, he loves you, he respects you and all of that. Let's
Hmm.
focus on this one thing that we don't like about him because he's not like us, or how we think he should be, and let us make that cause you stress.
Yeah. Who cares?
That's the type of bullshit that blood family will try to impose upon you. Meanwhile, if you're at your drag mother's house, or at your gay family's house, or at your musicians, they're going to be like, cool, welcome, end of
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, exactly. And if they're not, then, you just stop hanging out with them because apparently they're not a family. So you don't let other people treat you that way.
And so why would blood family feel like they could cause somebody stress over that? Because they assume that that blood family person will always be there no matter what.
Yeah.
And, we don't go to work acting a fool because we know that we don't always have to keep that job. We can dismiss that employer, or they could dismiss us. In blood families, there's this lie that people believe, like you always have to be there. People, you have the right to divorce your blood family. You can walk the fuck away from them, right, if you want to. You don't have to deal with them for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes people need to just hear what we're saying, Heather,
Totally.
to go and cuss their mom out one last time, but then don't talk to the bitch again. If she's got you fucked up, I cussed my dad out a couple of years ago. I was across the street, buying some crack rocks and whatever. And so he decided, he was waiting in his front, in his driveway when I got out, to yell at me for buying the crack rocks and everything. 'Cause this drug dealer, he had a crush on me, so I can get a lot of rocks from him, for like cheap. And so,
Good deal.
yeah, I don't smoke crack anymore, but I don't, rest in peace, Whitney. I feel you, girl. So, I feel you, girl. And so, but so I had to cuss him out because this is a man who's had not one but two affairs, and,
Hmm.
and a couple of other things. I'm like, oh hell to the no! You're not about to judge me about my crack rocks when you can't keep your dick in your pants. Oh no.
Yeah, one of these things is okay, but the other isn't. Mm,
It's not going to happen like that, sir.
no.
No. From that day forth, he's treated me a lot better. We have a completely different relationship since he got cussed out one good fucking time.
Really? That's awesome that,
Right.
it was able to be that 180, because I think sometimes it's not, like, family members just fall back into old patterns, so that's you must have been very effective.
Oh, I'm sure that they heard me all up and down the street a few blocks over. That was some pent up rage and aggression that I had been having in for a long ass time. And it was my grandmother that told me about the first affair that he had with
Mhm.
when my mom was pregnant with me.
Ooh,
It's some men like to cheat on their wives when they're pregnant with their babies for whatever fucking reason. It's a certain type of evil that I just
yeah.
it's just
Wow.
lower than low because she's vulnerable and already and super emotional, and all of this is going on. And during this time, some men are more attracted to their women when they're pregnant, and then you got scoundrels like how my dad was, who are like, now I'm gonna go skip across town while you're here with this child in your belly, and the other three that you already have. you know,
Yeah, yeah,
it is
even though you know that you were a part of that, you
right.
helped to create this, you should probably, stick around at least till it's born, hopefully afterwards.
You think? It's
Yeah,
so
maybe.
but honey, whom the sun sets free is free indeed. Families are not meant to be a burden. Free
Mhm.
yourself from anything that is causing you stress. And I bet maybe you can't walk away immediately, then you can establish a plan, start to think about it, start to pray about it, meditate about it. If you don't care to do something called prayer, then that's fine. Meditate about it or something and see what you can do to identify the causes of the stress and then get away from it.
Yeah, yeah, which doesn't happen all at once often, sometimes it's small steps of putting in little boundaries at first.
Mhm. And a little bit goes a long way, and then it grows from there.
Exactly.
I mean, but Heather, your story in and of itself is pure encouragement because, some people think about blind people, they can't do anything. You've traveled,
Yeah,
you've written your 3 albums, you've written your memoir, you lived in other countries, you know, and you're still promoting yourself and everything like that. Even though you have blindness and also you have mental uh disability that you still struggle with every day, and you're
mhm,
still
yeah.
doing the damn thing. And that's what I love about your story, because you have all of this but you're not letting that hinder you. So how do you how do you tell yourself a mantra every day to get up and to move forward? How do you keep from focusing on what the problems are and focusing on what you can do?
I think my mantra is turn pain into purpose. So do one thing every day that makes this world better. And it can be like the smallest thing, but one act is going to do so much for self worth. And then when you have that self worth, you can do more. Cause I think as you said, there's another kind of misconception that a lot of people have that, blind people lead this boring, depressing life. And it actually hindered me from reaching out for help for a long time because I was worried that if I did, people would just be like, oh, you're blind. Like, of course you're depressed, but there's so much more to it. But no, generally, like, we lead very full lives.
Hmm. Absolutely. And so, in case there's somebody out there who is blind, or even if they're not blind, but suffering from mental health issues, or perhaps there's something, that you said today that they can identify with, you were able to channel your pain into writing. So, can you explain a little bit about what the process was like for writing a book and how it differs, and how it differs from, and what the process is for like writing songs? Maybe
I think,
somebody might want to start writing.
yeah, no, you totally should. Even if you don't share it with anyone, it can be such an outlet. And then if you do feel like sharing it with people, it's so wonderful to get that response of, "Oh, me too," "I feel that way too," or "This happened to me and this song really helped me." Like, that's kind of what we live for as musicians. And the songwriting process, I think, for me, writing the book was a little bit different because I guess I tend to hide behind metaphors a little bit more. Or you can say, oh, like I'm talking about this song isn't necessarily about me, or this part of the song isn't necessarily about me. But in a book, it's all about you, and you don't get to hide behind metaphors because then there's no point in writing it if you're not going to be raw and honest. Why do it? So that was really challenging. There were a lot of like sleepless nights of, oh my God, like what is this person going to think? Or what if this person thinks I meant this thing a different way, or like all these, like how are people going to react, because you're writing about people who are still alive, as I'm sure you're going through right now, which
Yeah.
is challenging because you have to, like, are you going to let them read it ahead of time? Are you going to allow them to influence what you write? All these questions. Are you doing it for the right reasons? That was a big one for me because I know some people who kind of doubted initially what I was doing were like, well, is this to get revenge? So I really had to think about that one. And I was like, no, like it definitely isn't, because the people I'm talking about in this book who have done me wrong, I couldn't care less if they read it. So no, it's not about revenge. It truly is about telling my story and hopefully helping other people.
And it's also healing.
Mm-hmm.
It's been unexpectedly healing for me to both host this podcast and talk about things, and also to write. I knew it would be, but it's been more profound than that. And and just like Heather was saying, sometimes you have to start small. So she's not saying sit down and bust out a whole memoir tonight, or to crank out 3 albums right now. So you may start with one line, just write how you feel that day, maybe in a journal. You know, it's just something healing in writing. It's a form of therapy that's practiced in mental health circles all around the world, all kinds of writing and stuff like that. It's something about putting pen to paper. Or you want to click away on a keyboard somewhere or on an iPad or whatever. It it does. It just heals, man. I don't know why.
It
You know?
really does. And I think it's easier to, once you see these thoughts and feelings out on paper or virtual paper, it's so like, oh, that's how that happened. You can see maybe a bigger picture that you can't just see in your mind until it's actually out there on a piece of paper.
And then writing is also another form of expression in the sense that maybe there's something you would like to tell somebody and you can't vocalize it.
Yeah.
Like when I got HIV, I couldn't tell anybody. It was something about if I couldn't find the words. I don't know if I thought it would make it really real. But I
Mm-hmm.
think I already knew it was real. I don't think I mentally could have handled it. So I texted my friend, an attorney, and then I let my boss listen to the voicemail of the ratchet ass doctor who left my positive HIV diagnosis on a voicemail. I
Oh,
let,
wow.
I was like, wow. And so I let him hear it. I couldn't vocalize
Yeah.
it. And so writing is a way to still communicate. Maybe you can't find the words vocally. There's another way for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And even when I was doing the recording for the audiobook and I had to read some of those passages out loud for the first time, it was like, I can't do this. This is so hard. It's way harder than writing it. So I totally get what you mean about how vocalizing can be so much more challenging than just writing it down.
And as far as the real life people who I'm writing about in my book, it the they don't really have a choice in the matter. I changed the names,
Yeah, yeah.
of everybody. So if they want to go and make a big deal about it, be like, yeah, I'm the asshole that he's talking about over there on page 42. Okay, well, that's you. I
Yeah.
tried to change the name, but if you want to, you want
And
to
who's
say,
gonna admit to that, right?
right.
Like, "Oh, yeah, I screwed you over. Yeah, you're talking about me there, aren't you?" Like, nobody's gonna admit to that. That's kind of the point I got to with my book was like, well, these people aren't gonna actually do anything because 'cause they'd have to admit having done something.
Right. and then, and that require all kinds of corroboration too. It's just not worth it. Bitch, just be glad you made it in somebody's final edit and be glad with that.
Yes.
And so, just I'll let you have the last word. I think we've talked about a good bit today that will be super beneficial to people, not just people who are blind, but people who know people who are blind and people who are struggling with mental health issues and people who know people who are as well. Hear this interview, share this interview. All of Heather's contact information and everything will be included in the show notes, as I always do. Direct links to her website, her music, her books, and everything like that. So you can find this woman and ask her whatever the fuck you want to.
There you go. Yes, do it.
So with
Ask
that,
away.
Heather, I'll give you the last word. Any kind of words of encouragement you have to this globe, anyone struggling with the things that you have, or anything at all, whatever you'd like to say.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, offer you, if you're struggling, a whole bunch of bullshit about how tomorrow's another day and it gets better and things like that, because I know when I was going through it, when people said that kind of stuff to me was the exact moment I stopped listening to them. But what I will tell you and what I can promise you is that there will come a day when you'll stop in a moment and you'll feel such profound joy in that time, and you'll think to yourself, I would have missed this, and you'll be so glad that you hung on for it, and I hope that you will hang on for that day.
Well, amen to that. That was that real shit. That wasn't that bullshit. But you just said right there. Thank you so much for joining us today, Heather. This was a very helpful episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all so much for taking time to listen to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. It really means everything to me. Look, if you love the show, you can find more information and resources at sexdrugsandjesus.com or wherever you listen to your podcast. Feel free to reach out to me directly at devannon@sexdrugsandjesus.com and on Twitter and Facebook as well. My name is Devannon, and it's been wonderful being your host today. And just remember that everything is going to be all right.